Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Eddie Marcus here again. Got a few questions I'd like to ask you. Those of you who are baby boomers, born in the United States of America, you remember how your parents used to make you go to church all the time? I mean, all the time. Not just Sundays, Wednesday, Friday, sometime Monday. Ooh, Tuesday, Bible band. You just went to church all the time. Remember how wonderful they told you God was, how much love God had, all the power that God had. You remember that? You remember how they used to tell you that those who believed in God could receive the Spirit of God, and greater was the Spirit of God in you than the spirit of the world. You remember that? The spirit of the devil. You remember that? You remember how you used to, as a kid, believe all that stuff, and as you became an adult, got older and older, the talk was there, but you never saw the action. You remember that? Remember that? This is the America, the United States of America, they say. In most major cities, they got a church on every corner. They got a liquor store and a church. Well, they don't have as many churches on every corner now, but they got a lot of churches. And the only reason they don't have a lot of churches on corners now is because they got mega churches. People who watch church on TV and send their money in through the mail. All of these people, God-fearing people. Are you listening to me, God-fearing people? You remember when you used to believe that stuff? Now that you are an adult, you don't believe that stuff anymore. Or you go to church, you pay your tithes and offerings, you sing in the choir, you have Bible studies, and you can't wait to get out of there though, because you just went through there because of tradition. You have no real soul in there. And the evidence that you have no real soul in there is because the devil is running the show in America. The devil is running the show in America. Right now, it's being used by the Republicans and conservatives and Donald Trump. Now, that's who's being used right now. Sometimes they use Democrats and whoever's in power. It's the same thing. Nobody is loving God. And right now you see Trump trying to separate himself from everything and be number one, to be God. See, Trump wants to be God. You think Putin got something going on, or the dude in China. Trump wants to be God. He wants everybody to be to Trump, because Trump has the biggest mind, the smartest mind, the most intelligent person on the face of the earth nowadays, and nobody has more closeness to God than Donald Trump. He even got the Pope beat. Well, maybe the Pope is not too much competition. But the point of it is that everybody's still going to church, everybody's still talking about God, paying the money, and the devil running the show. The evidence is that at the 2016 election, presidential election, general election, you had all the Christian folks, maybe a few of them didn't go, but most of them went to the polls and voted for their, what they call, lesser of two evils. That's the devil, ladies and gentlemen. The people in America are evil. Even the ones who say they love God are evil because they don't know what serving God means. Now, I know the first thing to hop out of their mouths is, that's what you believe, and what I believe is what counts. Yeah, it might be what you believe, but I tell you one thing, it better have something to do with what you learned. You can believe what you want to believe. Believing don't mean a darn thing except you don't know anything. So you walk in talking about what you believe about God, and it's taking you ass straight to hell. Don't you see the boat you're riding on right now? It is straight to hell. Now, how in the world can you sit up in church, talk about God, pay your tithes and offerings, and separate children at the border? How can you do that, giving sanctions on people, causing people to starve? How can you do that by cutting back health care for people who need it, taking conditions that had already existed and say you can't treat that? How can you do that? How can you keep people from going to college because they don't have any funds and call yourself God? How can you have people sleeping, what you call homeless people? Homeless, I mean, you got people that are homeless that you build tents and things, and you don't, and that's good for you. You think you're doing something. Conservatives, I think I heard somebody talking about conservatives and liberals the other day. They say the liberals want to give out everything, and as they give out everything, that involves government. Let me tell you something, you little nappy-head, ugly people. You didn't bring nothing into this world but your stink. God made the food. God prepared the education. God prepared for that the clothes might be made, shelter might be made. God prepared that education and health care might be made. Not man. You stupid, stupid man. You can't do that. That's why you're trying to say conservative, because you can't do that. I heard somebody say, well, we got to be careful because when we use all this up, it's gone. You don't know that. You didn't bring that here. God got this. And God says everybody. Everybody. So, as far as I'm concerned, all you folks who are going to church right now ain't doing nothing but serving Satan. And I'm going to say it because I'm mad with you. I'm mad because you're lying, talking about you know God. You preach about God. You talk about God. You lying sack of doo-doo. You know nothing about God. If you knew anything about God, you'd be standing up against the American system that allows poverty to exist. When every man, every child, every woman, every grown person in America who needs a job got a job. It was created from the beginning. And you can't even see that. You're smart. Better than everybody else. Don't want people depending on money. Don't want people depending on one another. Want people depending on money. What you control. So you can control and manipulate them and have them going to church talking about God. God doesn't mean a single thing to anybody that goes to church. Every preacher that goes to church, God doesn't mean a single thing to you. Because if he did, you would stand up for those who are hurting. Because that's what God made you for. Those who love God to stand up for one another. That's what you were made for, to look out for one another. To make sure that you experience here on earth heaven instead of Satan. But what are you doing? You're experiencing Satan. When you can sit up and talk about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is just a man just like the rest of us. But he's an evil man. Low down man. Don't care about anybody but himself. And all those people that's hanging around him, those congressmen who sucking up around him, the same kind, they don't give a stink about black people. They don't give a stink about other people of color. They don't give a stink about people in other lands. The only thing they care about is their stinking selves. All they think about is their stinking selves and want to talk about God. I want to tell you, these folks who are out here teaching about God, black and white, don't know a darn thing about God. Woman and male don't know a darn thing about God. All they're doing is reading out of a book the same way your kid read out of 3 blind mice or 3 little bears or Santa Claus. That's all they're doing, reading and trying to speak what they think they have learned in some school that they can make sound like it got some sense. It ain't got no damn sense. It's a bunch of crap. Every last American is full of it. Now that don't mean that some of you not good. I'm not trying to say that, but I want to tell you this. Good ain't good enough. Good ain't getting you in heaven. Good ain't opening no pearly gates. Change. Born again is what's opening pearly gates. Not you sitting up here talking about you different. Now I'm going to let you go sit down because I'm tired of fussing at you, just wasting up my time because you don't give a stink about what I'm talking about. Bye.